Right when President Trump's China tariffs went into effect at midnight, that Beijing was waiting, poised to strike back with these measures on multiple fronts. As you mentioned, first imposing those additional tariffs on a range of U.S. imports, coal, liquefied natural gas, crude oil, farm machinery. It's also targeting some car imports, namely pickup trucks. And they announced additional export controls on certain critical metals. And there's more. China also announced an antitrust probe into Google, which is not the first for the company. It doesn't do a lot of business here because the search engine is blocked, but it could be disruptive for Chinese companies. And two American companies, PVH Group, which owns clothing brands like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, and Illumina, a gene sequencing startup, are being added to the unreliable entity list here, meaning they're effectively blacklisted from doing business. Now, altogether, these measures affect roughly 30% of U.S. exports to China, so it's unlikely to make a huge dent in the U.S. economy. Economists say it's more symbolic, that it's designed more as a message from China that it could get a lot worse.
There's Elon Musk and DOGE gaining access to the Treasury Department's payment system. Trump's new executive order looking to create a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, all with USAID and the Department of Education potentially on the chopping block. Joining us this morning to talk a bit about that is Congressman Richard Neal, Democratic congressman from Massachusetts, ranking member of House Ways and Means. Congressman, good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be with you.
I'd like to get on tariffs first. We've seen some tough talk in the last half a week on Colombia, then obviously Canada and Mexico, with little follow-through.
The first lawsuit filed against Trump's efforts to block migrants from applying for asylum. We'll talk to a top ACLU lawyer about his group's challenge. Plus, what we know about today's White House meeting between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You're watching Jose Diaz-Balart Reports on MSNBC.
Have you always had trouble with your weight? Same.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
With Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds.
And some lost over 46 pounds.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
I'm reducing my risk. Wegovy is the only weight management medicine proven to reduce risk of major.
To stay out of the agency's headquarters in Washington, D.C. this morning. The notice was distributed to federal.
And his poll numbers are going down. Then he'll take a minor concession and pretend it was gigantic. that might have already been. Government would do that, especially with Trump as a wild bluffer, right? So if Trump keeps insisting and the EU joins China,
China less likely to negotiate with Trump, although you never know. So we'll stay on the story and give you updates as they come along. This is a fast evolving story, so.
That what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually. If you've got an apple that's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got it.
This is the latest development on the future of USAID after both President Trump and, maybe more importantly, Elon Musk said it needed to be shut down.
It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
The Trump administration, along with Elon Musk and DOGE, are on the warpath against the U.S. Agency for International Development, also known as USAID. They want to eliminate it, but the question is, what does USAID do? How important is this government agency? And more importantly, can they legally, unilaterally eliminate this federal government agency? So we're going to answer all those questions in just a moment. But first, here's the context and all the details of the story. The agency's staffers were told to stay out of the agency's headquarters in Washington, D.C. this morning. The notice was distributed to federal workers after Elon Musk announced that both he and Donald Trump agreed with shutting down the agency entirely. USAID staffers said they also tracked more than 600 employees who reported being locked out of the agency's computer systems overnight. Those still in the system received emails saying that at the discretion of agency leadership, the headquarters building will be closed to agency personnel on Monday, February 3rd. Now, Musk himself also spoke about this during an X Spaces meeting. So let's take a little listen to that part of the discussion.
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms. And so at the point at which you don't really, like if you've got an apple that's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a ball of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a ball of worms. Mm-hmm. There is no apple. And when there is no apple, you've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing.
But is it really just a ball of worms? Is this a government agency that is currently involved in waste and abuse of taxpayer money? Well, both sides are saying completely different things, with Democrats saying, no, this is an incredibly important government agency, and the Trump administration seeking to eliminate it is illegal. Republicans, of course, are saying something entirely different. Take a look.
Several Democratic House members and senators are going to be talking about, in their view, why this is a major national security mistake to either end or to significantly curb USAID and the aid it provides. The argument they have been making, and I've been speaking to my sources, is this is not charity. International money that goes to countries that we consider allies is also national security, because they say that if we provide aid for democracies around the globe, it does sort of provide a bulwark in defense of our adversaries. If there is, for example, a hypothetical where you've got China or Russia in conflict with the United States, those assets become very valuable. Now, the other side of that coin that I've heard today from my Republican sources is they say that there's only about 10 to 20% of all USAID money, which again, tens of billions of dollars, actually goes to things on the ground. They say